Huge development in the Kevin Durant trade saga as the player confirms that he wants to leave the Brooklyn Nets through a trade. So in today's video, we're going to look at what his ultimatum was with the franchise and why the Raptors could be back in the driver's seat to acquire the superstar. Let's get into it. What's going on, NBA and Raptors fans? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. On this channel, I give you the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, and I'm doing it all throughout the offseason. So if you like what you see from today's video, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You can help us on a road to 12,000 subscribers, and if you find yourself enjoying this video along the way, be sure to drop a like to get that extra bit of support. Let's try to hit 400 likes on today's video. I know that we can do it, but let's get into our content for today. A monster development with the Kevin Durant trade saga. As we found out yesterday, as reported by Shams Charania, we had Kevin Durant essentially give the Brooklyn Nets organization an ultimatum. It's either them or it's me, because Kevin Durant told Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai that either he has to fire GM Sean Marks and coach Steve Nash, or he wants out through a trade. Now, this is a very interesting development here, because it seemed like for the last month or so, maybe the last few weeks or so, that we didn't really understand exactly what Kevin Durant wanted. In fact, some reports were suggesting that Kevin Durant actually didn't even want to trade. Maybe he wanted other players to get traded, like perhaps Kyrie Irving, that maybe he actually wanted to be with the Brooklyn Nets. But now we really understand here, because Kevin Durant met with Brooklyn Nets ownership to truly give them how he feels, give him his side of the story, what he really wants out of the organization. And apparently, he wants a better future, and he doesn't think the franchise is going in the right direction with Sean Marks or Steve Nash. Now, for a lot of people online, this kind of seemed like a pretty simple decision for the Brooklyn Nets ownership in theory. A lot of people online were saying that, okay, if Kevin Durant came up to me and said that, I would get on speakerphone with Steve Nash on the spot. But I don't think it's quite as simple as that, because, I mean, it's really a lose-lose situation here for Joe Tsai. So let's say he respects Kevin Durant's demands and he fires Steve Nash and he fires Sean Marks. That just puts such an ugly precedent, because now you've given that player so much power. It's just a bad precedent for the team and also the NBA giving players so much of that power. But also on the flip side, if he doesn't give in to player power and he trades Kevin Durant, well, he just traded a top 5 player in the NBA, one of the top 20, maybe even top 15 greatest players of all time. Like it's a lose-lose situation for Brooklyn Nets ownership. And this is exactly what I said was going to happen here. When Kevin Durant first made the claim that he wanted to get traded, I said it would be within the best interest of the Brooklyn Nets to get this done quickly before it gets uglier and before the lack of leverage that they already have gets even lower. I said originally that Brooklyn Nets don't have a ton of leverage and they're not going to get the trades that they want. That was revealed when Brooklyn flat out said they're not getting the valuation that they expected for Kevin Durant. But I said it's not going to get any better. This situation can only get worse. Well, guess what, Brooklyn? It got worse, because now you have Kevin Durant going out publicly basically saying that he wants to get traded here. And the Brooklyn Nets, who I said originally don't have a ton of leverage, and people thought I was crazy. The pitchforks and torches came out when I said the Brooklyn Nets don't have a ton of leverage. Well, how about now when Kevin Durant says this and we get the reports from Shams Charania? And if it couldn't get any worse, Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai goes on Twitter to basically subtweet one of his own players, saying essentially that he is with the Brooklyn Nets organization. He's going to support the people who support the Brooklyn Nets ownership, like Steve Nash and like Sean Marks. So any sort of leverage, that minuscule amount of leverage that maybe the Brooklyn Nets still had, completely evaporated as essentially Joe Tsai, the Brooklyn Nets owner, confirms on Twitter that essentially he's going to trade Kevin Durant. This is a historic moment. Do you understand? Like, this is history right here. We have an owner of an NBA team subtweeting one of their players on Twitter. That has never happened before. That is just, take that in. That's insanity. So the Brooklyn Nets are in a little bit of a hole here, but it looks like Kevin Durant is going to get traded. And I'm going to reiterate my stance here that, okay, even though it's gotten worse, it can still get even worse for the Brooklyn Nets. So it's still within their best interest to make this Kevin Durant trade happen, but who are the leaders to actually make this trade happen? Well, Shams went further on with his report saying that there are 3 teams really in the driver's seat trying to make this deal happen. Those 3 teams are the Miami Heat, as we saw earlier, one of Kevin Durant's preferred destinations. We also have the Boston Celtics, who have apparently made Jaylen Brown available for this trade, as we saw in reports about 2 weeks ago. The third team, still lurking and still a very prominent figure in these discussions, of course, is the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are still in this business. They still have the pieces to get this done, and I would still say they are one of the favorites to actually get this deal done. Phoenix were Kevin Durant's preferred destination, but after signing DeAndre Ayton to that max contract, not only can they not trade him until January 15th, I think it is, DeAndre Ayton can veto any trade for a full year. And other than DeAndre Ayton, they just don't have the stuff to get this done. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, a package around them is just not good enough here. The Miami Heat, they don't want to trade Bam Adebayo, nor can they really do that really easily because Bam Adebayo and Ben Simmons can't be on the same team because they're both designated players, so there'd have to be a third team involved. Very difficult situation. So Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, a package built around them, that's not getting KD. And the other 2 teams in the driver's seat, you've got the Toronto Raptors and you've got the Boston Celtics. Now, I've been saying the Raptors are in the best position to make this trade happen. That would definitely change if the Boston Celtics legitimately made Jaylen Brown available. Last time reports kind of came out, it did seem like the Brooklyn Nets not fabricated the reports, but they leaked some information regarding the Celtics having spoken about Jaylen Brown and maybe some negotiations to unsettle the player and maybe try to just inflict other teams into adding on to their value, adding more onto the trade package they would offer for Kevin Durant, because they were like, well, if Boston are offering Jaylen Brown, then, well, Raptors, you now have to offer Scottie Barnes. I don't really think that is the case, and the Raptors, they are still not going to offer Scottie Barnes. Anybody with any sort of concern or anybody watching, like I don't have any sources here, but I'm going to tell you flat out, Scottie Barnes is not going to be involved in this trade. It's just simply not going to happen. And if the Brooklyn Nets continue to hold out for Scottie Barnes, they are going to continue to hold out. They're going to continue to watch this horrible situation snowball into an even worse situation and plummet KD's value even more than it was before. His valuation 2 weeks ago was, I would say, considerably higher than it is now. So why would the Raptors, who already weren't going to offer Scottie Barnes, now offer him when the value of the player has diminished? I would say at this point, the Raptors, if they want to make a trade here, like, they're smelling blood here. Because 2-3 weeks ago, when we were really involved in these trade discussions here, we didn't have our summer camp roster essentially finalized. We weren't already working with the players involved in our team. Like, I would say at this point, we're even more comfortable to keep the current core that is in place than make this trade for Kevin Durant. So Brooklyn, who already weren't going to get a ton out of us, are going to get even less here because, I mean, look at the reports that came out. Apparently, the Brooklyn Nets, they seem very confident. I don't really understand how because, again, yesterday just tanked. A lot of the value and a lot of the leverage that didn't exist already got even lower. And they said, they're like, I can just imagine kind of all these guys in like a boardroom kind of, rubbing their hands together saying, we're going to take every last asset from any team who wants to make the trade for Kevin Durant. Like who is going to give you all that? Nobody is going to give you all that. Like, you might get Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics, but I still find that a little bit unlikely that they would give up on, that core that made it to the NBA Finals. Maybe they do it. I mean, I'd be more shocked if they did do it, but it's a distinct possibility. But other than that, like, who is beating OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., and the motherload of picks that the Raptors can offer? Because Scottie Barnes is still off the table. If Kevin Durant's coming to the Raptors and you have aspirations to win a championship, which of course you do, then he has to play with the All-NBA talent like Pascal Siakam. That shouldn't be a hot take. That shouldn't be like a ridiculous statement. We need Kevin Durant, if he comes to the Raptors, to play with all-star level teammates like Pascal Siakam. I know he wasn't an all-star, but I think we can acknowledge that if you make an all-NBA team and not an all-star team, there was a mistake made by the all-star voting cast, so whoever voted for that, there was a mistake made. I think it's pretty simple. He was all-NBA. He's a very good player. You want him to be playing with Kevin Durant. So on the table could be OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., and a bunch of picks. I don't know if the Raptors would be willing to give like 4 first-round picks, but maybe 3 picks, maybe 2 pick swaps. Then you get Kevin Durant into the team playing with Fred VanVleet, Scottie Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and you could slip in Precious Achiuwa into the starting lineup for the team, the starting five of the team. That's a very good team. And I know, I understand the notion, people want to keep the core together. I completely understand that side of the story. Keep the core together. This team has a lot of room to grow, and this could be a contender in the future if Scottie Barnes continues to develop like the way we expect him to. But this is a top 5 player in the NBA. It is so difficult to get this level of talent on your team. And even if it is only 2 years of Kevin Durant at his absolute best because he's already 34 years old, if you can keep Siakam, VanVleet, and Barnes and still make this trade happen, I'm 100% going all out to make that trade, like pretty much no questions asked. So I'm going all out if it doesn't include those players. I obviously would be pretty sad to part ways with guys like Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, but this is Kevin Durant here. That seems like a bit of a steal in my opinion to only give up those players. But the Brooklyn Nets, at the end of the day, bottom line is they have to recognize, like, they are not really helping themselves here with the way they're letting this all play out. And I'm going back to what I said. I said they did not have the leverage they thought they had. I got criticized by a lot of you. Not everybody. A lot of people criticized me for saying that. And I said it's only going to get worse the longer they wait. Well, we waited, they waited, and it got a whole lot worse yesterday. The Raptors are one of the biggest players in this game, and it really looks like at this point, Kevin Durant staying is off the table, especially after the Joe Tsai subtweet, which I still cannot believe. With that being said, the Raptors can legitimately make this happen. There is a very real scenario where the Raptors finish this offseason with Kevin Durant on their team. Whichever way it goes, trading for KD or not, the Raptors are going to be fine. We get KD, great. Let's try to go win a championship. We don't get KD, no problem. We have an excellent core in place, a top 9 in the roster that I absolutely love. Let's go see what we can do this season and build that foundation, a better foundation to go win that championship and ascend to that contender status in the future. Whichever way it goes, I'm happy with the offseason. So what do you guys make of this Kevin Durant saga as it continues to brew? Has all these comments making Kevin Durant kind of look like a diva turned you off from making this trade, or are you still in the same mindset as me? If you can avoid trading Siakam and Barnes, you go all out to get this done. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please, if you did enjoy, be sure to drop a like. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, because when you like this video, it sends that notification to YouTube that other people with similar interests to you may also enjoy this video. Therefore, it is recommended to more people. Help spread the word of amateur sports, and this video only takes you a second to like the video, but it does help me out a ton. And make sure for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news that you subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports. We're on a road to 12,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. Also, be sure to check out my second channel, Amateur Hour TV, for even more NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors in a lot more of a personal and less professional setting. See you again next time for another video.